We have Rob in Virginia. Pronouns are he, him. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Call screener says here you wanted to apologize. I'd say it's unnecessary, but I'll let you do it.
Okay. Well, I wanted to make this quick and hopefully painless. I'd called in earlier in defense of irrationality, and the way that I had defined irrationality was pretty much any cognizant evaluation that was not the result of a logically sound argument, which makes pretty much everything that we really value part of irrationality. And I understand now that most people don't really recognize that. So I want to say, Matt, I really appreciate the way that you understand and define things and discuss things with regards to other people. And to Mandisa, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Love the way you think. What my suggestion was to think that maybe it would be a good idea for callers to be graced with a sort of contextual lexicon of terms that are used. Because a lot of the arguments that we see in these shows come from people who think that atheism is more than just a non-belief in the existence of God. And in society, I think that a lot of the things that people don't really realize is that the way that they think that their beliefs should be normalized and don't affect other people. And especially as it results to transgendered persons, when we talk about gender, a lot of people don't even realize that we're not talking about a biological sex. We're talking about a societal construct. And as far as Mandisa is concerned, I'm sure she realizes that a lot of people think that they're not racist, but have these aggressions or microaggressions against other races because they're not the norm in society. So, yeah, like I said, I just wanted to apologize for Matt because I do realize that I ticked you off earlier on because I was awkward and pretty much had an ego about how I was, but I realized that I am awkward and I don't really normalize the context that I use.
Well,
so I think that it would be a...
Sure. Apology accepted. I have no idea what the rest of this was about or where we were going, but cool. Thanks, Rob.
Okay. Well, like I say, just I think it would be a good idea if I could suggest to have a contextual lexicon available to people who are on hold to speak to you, because a lot of the arguments could be pretty much disbanded by saying that the speakers consider atheism to be a non-belief in the existence of God rather than a disbelief in the existence of all gods.
Rob, are you suggesting that we write? Are you suggesting that we write a dictionary that we then read off to people who are calling in on whatever their subject is?
Pretty much, yeah. But in context,
yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And the conversations are important. It may not be important in every single show to do an Atheism 101, but because of the people who are confusing, what good does it do to have a call screener when somebody calls in and say, oh, when you use the term atheism, you mean a complete, absolute certainty that there are no gods, but the hosts mean it in the sense that they're just not convinced. Oh, thank you. Goodbye. You've benefited exactly one person, maybe one person. Whereas if you actually get them on to do that call and knock it out pretty quick, you benefited hundreds of thousands potentially. So no, I'm not going to waste time writing a little lexicon and force call screeners to have debates with individuals on a one-by-one basis when that's what the shows are for.
Well, I agree that the shows should be based on the viewer or the listener and the talker. But at the same time, the things that you're talking about, especially when it as regards to Mandisa, and especially as regards to transgender people,
oh my God.
There are certain terms that are used that a lot of people don't understand. Like when we talk socially about gender,
Rob, stop.
A lot about. Okay.
Whoa.
You should have stopped while you were ahead. Yes, there are plenty of things that people don't understand. I don't know why you keep bringing up Mandisa or trans folks or whatever else, but yes, there are plenty of things that people don't understand, which is why we have the conversations. How could you possibly look at multiple call-in shows where we're actually actively having these conversations where the purpose is to interact and educate, and then call in to tell us that there's people who don't understand the language the way we use it? Like we didn't fucking know that. Of course we know that. That's the reason we do the shows.
But I would even go a step further. No, I'm sensing that there is this need to just simply talk about terms and definitions as if we aren't people. Yes, we identify as atheists, but that isn't just the scope of our identity. And that shouldn't be dismissed, because once we let go of dogma and understanding how to unpack indoctrination, we can certainly discuss our impact on the world. And you mentioned how believers tend to think that, because of their narrow scope of thinking, especially about atheists, that there's definitely a stigma that needs to be broken down. So, and that's what we're doing here, and unapologetically. Now, there are some atheists who I think have the right to define their identity on their terms. They absolutely do. Sure, it is a simple definition, but there's so much more to it. And because we have dealt with so much stigma, because we have dealt with so much negativity, we absolutely should be having these conversations about what we do stand for as atheists, because some of it does align with believers and some of it is vastly different.
Agreed. Okay. So cool. I retract it. However, I think it would be great if there was some sort of online resource.
No, Rob, no. You don't get to say, I apologize, but I retract it, however. Why can't you just stop when you're ahead? By the way, the whole lexicon idea, who gets to write it? Is it my definitions? Is it Mandisa's? Do we sit here and we argue over which one of them we're going to use? Just quit while you're ahead, Rob.
Well, the thing is that there's a lot of people who, especially with trans rights, there are a lot of people who don't even understand what is meant when trans right representatives mean when they say
Rob.
gender.
Oh, okay.
Rob, I have offered you multiple opportunities to quit while you were the fuck ahead, and now you have incurred the wrath of Dillahunty. Why on earth would you fucking start repeating the same fucking shit you've already said multiple times as if we didn't hear you when we already acknowledged it? Learn what quit while you're ahead means, jackass. Jesus, sitting here doing everything in my power to say, yeah, cool. We got the apology thing sorted. I don't think that's going to work. The whole point is to have conversations. And then yet he keeps going back. Oh, let me talk about trans stuff again. Hey, Rob, did you just begin to learn that trans people exist and should have rights? Are you here to try to signal that you've managed to clue into something for the first time ever and you're worried about the people who haven't? Cool. Keep watching. Keep learning.
Yeah.
We have Joe in Ohio. Pronouns are he, him, and wants to talk about the usefulness of the term supernatural. Sweet. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand?
Hey. Yeah, hopefully I'll keep this real quick. I just, I hear the word supernatural used all the time, and I am not sure I quite understand if it should be even a useful term or not, because to me, if we could take something easy, like any God claim. Someone claims that there's some supernatural being that can operate outside of the known laws of the universe, we'll say. To me, it would make more sense to just say, well, if we did somehow verify that such a being were to exist, wouldn't it make more sense to just redefine our understanding of what is natural rather than saying this being is supernatural? I have not been able to come to a clear decision on if this is even a useful term or not.
Yeah. So I have to jump in this because I have actual thoughts here and have many, many times. So some people would say, like, if there was something that somebody said was supernatural, like we saw this apparition in the sky and we said it was supernatural. If we then discovered what it was, wouldn't it then become part of the natural world? And the answer is perhaps, because natural and supernatural are definitely two different things. One of them is the sum total of everything we know and have experienced, and the other one is something that nobody's ever been able to demonstrate exists in any way or that it interacts with the natural world in any way. But it's a category mistake to say that if there's the natural world and there exists something that is not bound to the natural world, which we have no examples of, but if it exists, then we can't just say it's natural, because by its definition, it is not bound by the natural world, the physics and everything else. It would be one thing to say it's reasonable for us to project that many things that had been attributed to the supernatural have natural explanations that we just haven't found yet. But you can't say there is no such thing as a supernatural. So we have to, because it can't falsify something that's not falsifiable. So because you can't falsify it, and because nobody's confirmed it, all we can keep saying is, I have no evidence or demonstration or indication of anything supernatural at all. And somebody's like, well, what if you found something supernatural? Well, if you found something supernatural, then you would have found something supernatural, not natural. That's just the definition. The difference is, did we find something supernatural, or did we find something that's part of the natural world that we just didn't have an explanation for before? And so far, the latter explanation, the one that I think you're kind of summarizing in your question, is what's happened every single time we've discovered what the real explanation for something is. It's never, ever been anything other than natural.
Yeah, it always reminds me of the old joke that there's no such thing as alternative medicine. There's just, medicine and then stuff that doesn't work. Same kind of idea. But
yeah,
no, I think that's a good perspective, and that helps me answer my question.
Awesome. Yeah, it's my favorite from Tim Minchin in Storm and elsewhere, and that's, what they call alternative medicine that's been proved to work. They call it medicine.
Yeah.
I'm sure to some people, supernatural sounds pretty, it's lofty and such, but at the end of the day, it really has, especially for us, it has just as much meaning as religion and God, which is not much, if any.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely the sexier term, if you will. But
yes,
I get it.
That's the way it goes. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you guys very much. Hey, have a nice evening.
I noticed somebody in chat.
Right.
And I haven't been following the whole conversation because I don't have time to follow the conversations in chat. But somebody was like, take some hallucinogens and alter your awareness. And I'm like, I've done that. Still haven't found anything supernatural. What I've found, when people cite drugs or food or emotional experiences, et cetera, all these things, all I keep finding are more natural experiences or a chemically altered brain that is coming up with flawed interpretations of reality. Some of them are fun, but doesn't mean they're any more real.